So you can't stop at the grocery store where you'll also pick up 20 other things. You go home and you're happy in your mind, not that I didn't have McDonald's, but that I am having peanut butter and jelly. And as a result, I didn't spend $12, and that $12 is going towards whatever the goal is.
Welcome to the Teacher Money Show, the podcast dedicated to helping teachers navigate your unique financial challenges and unlock your financial superpowers. I'm your host, Shaun Morgan, a full-time teacher. That's right, I teach every day just like you, and personal financial coach. And I'm here to help every teacher, whether you are a seasoned teacher looking for fresh insights or a new educator navigating your first paycheck, to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life.
The contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither I nor my guests are engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should not act upon this information without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.
I'm super excited to have Stacy Mastrolia on the show today. Stacy is better known as Prof. Stacy, the money teacher. She's the founder and CEO of Prof. Stacy Money Teacher, which provides free financial education and money coaching that is meant to offer hope through education, guidance, and encouragement to people experiencing financial stress. She's also a tenured accounting faculty member at Freeman College of Management at Bucknell University, where she teaches upper-level accounting, personal finance, and financial literacy. So she's got everything that you could possibly need to know about money. She's got the accounting bit on one side, but she's also got the strong emotional side of money in her understanding of how we need to experience that. So a very well-rounded experience with money. I'm super excited to talk to Stacy today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shaun. I'm excited to be here.
I can't wait to have you. And we're going to talk about a really fun topic today. We're going to talk about gamifying your finances. But before we do that, you said that you're teaching in a college. How long have you been in education? How'd you get into it? And how did you get into the personal finance piece of it? Because not every accountant is into personal finance. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, so I started my career. I graduated from Rutgers University in New Jersey. I started my career in accounting and public accounting. Went on to work for international acquisitions. I love to travel. I love to take on new challenges. So after about 15 years in the corporate world, I'd been promoted to controller for a large company. But I was frankly getting a little bored, getting a little stale. So I decided I wanted to do something different. And at the time, I was going back to school for my MBA. And I just saw the classroom as a different way of communicating knowledge. And it fascinated me. So that led me to have some conversations with professors, which ended up my going back to school to get my PhD down at the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. And after that, I was hired up here at Bucknell to join their accounting faculty. I've been here going on 16 years now. And I love it. Teaching is what I was meant to do. And in hindsight, it's what I did in the latter years of my career, even in accounting, because as a leader, a lot of times you're teaching, mentoring, guiding, the staff that work with you. So teaching is a natural outcropping. Central Pennsylvania is a beautiful place to live. So that's how I ended up here.
So you are teaching accounting, but then you also have the personal finance piece. How did you get interested in that and start wanting to, start teaching others about personal finance?
Yeah, so I work with two other faculty members who were passionate about personal finance in different areas. So one is passionate about personal finance more with younger kids, like high school kids. I was more passionate about it with adults. And then the third of us was more passionate kind of within the academic environment. So the three of us got together over time and we developed a course that we now use for our seniors. It's available to our seniors, called Personal Finance. So it's really a financial literacy class. It gets them to learn about budgeting and insurance and debt and credit, investing. And it's became, wildly popular. And now we have multiple classes and multiple professors that teach it. But that was really, because I came to Academia Elite, that I always kind of need somebody to show me, not always, but it's helpful if somebody shows me how to take some concept that I know really well and apply it to the classroom. So we kind of learned to do that here. And then I realized that, especially during the pandemic, there's so many people that could benefit from financial literacy, and they don't need to pay tuition at Bucknell to do that. That can be provided in other ways. And that's where Prof. Stacy was born, because I needed an outlet for my teaching. And it had, grown bigger than teaching a class here at Bucknell. So yeah, I started private coaching. I started, most of my stuff's free on the website. And, there's blogs about all different sorts of aspects of financial literacy.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm jealous of your seniors who are getting a quality financial literacy education right there. Because most of us don't get that in school. So that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. What we're going to talk about today is gamifying education. Can you tell us what gamifying your personal finances, not education, gamifying personal finances, what that means, and how we can use it to stay on track with our financial goals?
Yeah, so again, it kind of starts in the classroom. Our students are used to an active learning environment. So they're not used to being lectured at for an hour and 20 minutes twice a week. They're used to lectures being broken up by physical activities that they do, or activities that they do in pairs, or small groups, or, they're constantly demanding an interactive aspect of learning. So with that background, or with that demand from them, I started developing activities that I use in class that are I didn't see them as games, but they are, it's ways of taking the financial literacy information and turning it into something that the students can put their own hands on. So one of the first ones we do is they have to build a budget for a friend. So they're given kind of like a vignette that explains this friend and what they're trying to accomplish. And the friend is similar to them, somebody who just graduated from a university, has a similar salary to what our graduates have on average, live in a city similar to our graduates on average, and they each have a vice and they each have a dream. And figuring out how to balance, maybe one really likes to travel, and a lot of their budget's going towards travel, but they also want to save for a car or save for a house. So how do you balance those wants and needs first strategically, and then they actually have to build a monthly budget for this individual that prioritizes what they're saying is important to them, and challenges them in other areas where they're saying that's not so important to me.
I think that's really great to have that opportunity to dispassionately look at a budget. Like, you're not dealing with your own emotional baggage when you're creating the budget. You're just saying, well, this is what this person ought to do. And that practice in a hands-on aspect, I think, is really, really powerful, because you can then easily apply that. Like, oh, well, yeah, I ought to do the same thing with my own finances. That's really great. What are some other things that people can do to gamify their personal finance?
Another one that's really popular is I have them do some research on a stock that they're interested in, and they need to go out and find the 10 Qs or the 10 Ks. They need to learn about that company and what the company's objectives are, what their financial situation is. And then they can choose to invest in that company, or they could choose another company if they find something out that they don't like about that company. But they're given a sum of money to invest, and they don't have to buy and hold, they can trade. And we work with that through the semester, and they can understand how the market works. The market goes up, the market goes down. The last module we teach in the class, it's like the last 3 weeks of the 14-week semester, is investing. So they're kind of seeing it and tasting it as we go along, but at the end, then I can bring it all back together and say, so that's what market fluctuation means. Like, I can show you this graph, but you experienced market fluctuation over the past 14 weeks. So how did your stomach feel when the market was up? How did your stomach feel when the market was down? Were you tempted to sell? Were you tempted to trade? Like, actually getting into the psychology of how we deal with saving and investing, because most of our students will graduate with a good job and the opportunity to make some really life-changing choices with their money. But how do we get them to understand what is the difference between trading on a stock exchange or commodities, or other riskier ventures?
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of fun. I remember doing a similar activity when I was in like middle school, but it was much less involved than that. But I just think getting an opportunity to do a pretend, like a mock stock exchange, I think is really helpful for people, because you don't know how you're going to react until you're actually in that situation. If you can pretend you're in that situation, that's huge. Are there any other particular ones in your class that you'd like to talk about, or should we move on to another topic?
I mean, we do some role playing as well, especially with insurance, creating a environment where you can understand the trade-off between risk and premiums, right? So you use premiums to buy down risk, and where do we balance risk and what you're paying to buy it down? So that's another area that's otherwise kind of dense insurance. So a way of making it a little less dense, a little more fun. And frankly, it stays in their memory longer, because they'll remember, even if it wasn't something they did, they might remember something like when Javier had the budget for the seamstress, right? Like there's things that strike them that they'll remember later.
Yeah, that's
more so
awesome.
than if it was just me chatting at them, right?
Yeah, the lecture is not the most sticky form of education, for sure. So I think that's great. Now, do you use this gamification process in your own personal finances, in your own life, to help you stay on track on your own personal budget?
Yeah, so I really like challenges. I've not used a lot of challenges in my classroom, but I use a lot of challenges with my coaching clients. And it's given me thought. Like, I think I can probably develop some challenges for the students to do week to week, but I really like challenges. I use them in everything. So like, we have a bowl with the chores in it, and when we're doing chores on Saturday morning, you got to pull out of the bowl and you get what you get, and you don't get upset, right? So I just like challenges, and we try and come up with them, like with my coaching clients, for most weeks. There'll be, a different challenge, and sometimes they come up with a good challenge.
So, when you say a challenge for personal finance, what would a challenge in personal finance look like?
So it could be as simple as a track your spending week. So for a week, you track every dollar that you spend. Another one is to use only cash for a week. And that gets to be a challenge if it's the winter and you've got to get out of your car and go into the gas station to pay for your gas with cash. But it's the only time, if you ask somebody, it's the only time they know how much they paid for gas that week, right? Otherwise, we really have no idea. We know it's about 20 gallons in the tank, about $3 or $4 a gallon. But no, you know exactly how much it is if you got to walk it in and pay in cash. One of my clients came up with lately was to do a coupon challenge. You can't buy anything that's not on sale. Not for a week, grocery store, you can't buy anything that doesn't have a markdown. Yeah, so things like that, where it's some way that you're thinking about spending money, but you're also thinking about how you're saving money.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love challenges as well. I mean, like a no spend challenge, trying to spend nothing that's not essential. I mean, like, you need gas, you need food, but don't go, like, buy that doohickey on Amazon, or walk by that thing in Costco and go, ooh, pretty, and grab it. You're trying to avoid spending things unnecessarily for like a month. That can be a really powerful way, because you probably won't want that or need that thing that you're having shiny object syndrome on as you walk past
Yeah.
after the month passes. So it really helps you keep your spending down, and it's fun because you're like, yeah, I can make it another day, another week, another 2 weeks. And then I've also really enjoyed, there's like a grid where you're trying to save a certain amount over, like, say, 6 months, and you can mark off the amounts as you save them. So I mean, if you go for all the small ones early, then you're going to have all the bigger numbers later. But you can try and go for the bigger ones early on, then you can save smaller amounts later on. You're just because it gives you varied amounts to save each week over that 6 months to hit your goal. Things like that. So how does gamifying it help someone stay on track with their finances?
Yeah, I think it helps in a way with distraction, because you're not focused on the lack of whatever, you're focused on the gain of whatever. So one of the challenges they usually do in the spring is you have to find, 5 free things to do. In whatever radius from your house you're inclined to, but find free things to do. So you're not focused on, oh, there's this thing going on this weekend and I can't do that because I can't spend money. Instead, you're focused on, oh, there's this exhibit at the park and I can do that because I'm not going to spend money on it. So I think it keeps us focused on what we are doing, what we can doing, and the goals that we're achieving or striving towards, as opposed to, I'm just going to sit home and watch TV again tonight because I can't go out. And nobody's inspired by scarcity. We're inspired by abundance. So the more we can keep our mind focused on the abundance and less focused on the scarcity, time passes and successes are had. And next thing you know, you look and you have achieved a savings goal or a debt reduction goal, or whatever it is that you're working towards, because you've kept your eye on the goal, on the challenges, on the successes, on the abundance.
Do you use challenges specifically for something like debt reduction?
Yeah, I mean, so the challenge is a lot of times, because I'm working with people, especially in my group classes, I'm working with people who are at different stages. Some might be pure saving, they've already paid off debt and they're just savings. Other people might be earlier in the financial journey and they've got a lot of debt, like a crippling amount of debt. So the challenges are always to see where you're spending, like bring that to the forefront of your mind, where you're spending, why you're spending. And it's really cool. I've done a ton of work lately in the area of the trauma of money, and that really plays into the why we spend. And then what do you want to be spending on? Like, do you really want to be spending on dinner at McDonald's as opposed to saving for your down payment on a house? And if you do, then enjoy McDonald's, like close your eyes and just savor every bite of it. But if you're saying, no, I was really just hungry and tired and I didn't want to cook, well, that's just pre-planning. That's keeping your life organized and saying, hey, when I'm tired and I don't want to cook, I could really enjoy peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I always have peanut butter and jelly in my house. So instead of stopping at McDonald's, I say, no, peanut butter and jelly. I'm going to go home and personally, I really just do enjoy peanut butter and jelly, but whatever it is, if it's pasta, if it's ramen, if it like whatever that you've already got in your house. So you're not stopping at the grocery store where you'll also pick up 20 other things. You go home and you're happy in your mind, not that I didn't have McDonald's, but that I am having peanut butter and jelly. And as a result, I didn't spend $12, and that $12 is going towards whatever the goal is. But because people have different goals, I don't focus it on any one thing when we're doing group coaching. If I'm doing individual coaching, yeah, then we can focus on that person's goals and how much we're achieving towards that goal.
Yeah, I mean, debt payoff, saving for something, putting money towards investments. It's all, you can just say you have a goal to have this much money to do whatever you need to do with. So it doesn't really matter what your goal is. You can use these in any of those situations. And I love what you said about peanut butter and jelly. I just think that's great. And find a way to really enjoy something simple, right? I was at a time when I was pinching pennies, and I would come home for dinner and I would make a toasted peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I'd dip it in hot chocolate. And that sounds kind of weird, but it was actually really yummy. And it was cheap. And I looked forward to it actually. So just find something to make yourself feel like you're being luxurious while not spending a ton of money can be a powerful mental thing to jump over, because you don't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy yourself, right? You can do things very frugally and still have a ton of fun and a ton of enjoyment out of life. So there's a balance there for sure.
Yeah. So some of the conversation too, like especially when I get started with new clients, is, we were all poor before. So if I'm talking with a client who's kind of like more advanced in their financial life, but still not being as successful as they'd like, we were all poor before, and we ate things and we did things and we had a good time. So remembering that I really do like peanut butter and jelly. My daughter, it's ramen. She really does like ramen noodles. And, I really did like taking, long walks when I had the time to do it. I really did like taking the car out and putting the top down and driving through the mountains. So remembering the things we really liked and reinvigorating that, because somehow we just, you moved along through life and we started doing other things, and they tended to be more expensive things. Instead of eating, at a local dive or a local restaurant, you ended up eating at a fancier restaurant. So it's just getting back to those things and remembering that I really did enjoy this and I still could enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. Living like a college student your entire life is not necessarily the best thing to do, but you can still remember what you did as a college student, have fun without breaking the bank, right? You can remember those inexperienced inexpensive experiences to just enjoy life. That's fantastic. Are there any other things you want to share about gamifying your personal finance or gamifying personal finance in the classroom that you think would be beneficial for teachers listening?
I think it's a matter of looking at things outside the box, right? So we want our students to learn a topic, and they can learn it from reading, they can learn it from listening to me, or they can learn it from interacting with the topic in some way. So this is where I am. I'm challenging like almost every module that I teach. How can I give the students an example of that topic that they can wrestle with themselves? Or frankly, our students tend to do better in small groups because they've got somebody to kind of bounce the ideas off of. They end up with a richer product for that discussion. And of course, that's a great skill for young people to learn before they leave college and enter the world. How do we work with other individuals in small groups, right? So spoiler alert, I'm also teaching them interpersonal skills. So yeah, I think it's just challenging ourselves, and maybe it's just me, but as I do something for a long time, I sometimes forget to look at it with fresh eyes and consider how could I do it different, even though it's a little uncomfortable for me at first to change up that exercise in the classroom.
Yeah, I love that. And personal finance is something that you have to do, right? You can run numbers in spreadsheets. You can, project this or that. You can say, well, when the stock market falls, I won't sell. But until you've actually done it, right, until you've actually had your hands on it and been there, you don't really know. You can't really, say you're going to do this or say you're going to do that. I think that hands-on experience is essential for personal financial literacy. So I think that's a fantastic idea. We can use this in our own lives. We can use it with our students. We can use it with our kids. Anytime that we're trying to help others or ourselves get better at personal finance, and just having that hands-on experience is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I got my last two questions for you that I ask all of my guests. My first one is, what is your number one tip for teachers that have a richer wallet, classroom, and life?
So I think it's keeping your eye on the long game. I was actually listening to some of your podcasts earlier, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the woman's name, but she was talking about teaching kids and then, of course, teaching teachers. But I think you have to keep your eye on the long game, especially as teachers. Depending upon your system, you're just counting through till your pension. But do you really know what you're going to do when you retire? Like, what are your big, hairy life goals? And what steps do you need to take in order to achieve them? And then today, what's my next best step to get closer to those big, hairy life goals? And the goals can be financial, but the financial is usually the second part of it. Like the goal is to travel internationally, then this is the finances I need in order to accomplish that. If the goal is to have a second home by the lake, these are the financial choices I have to make in order to accomplish that. The financial choices just support the life goals, right? I'm not sure that anybody has a life goal of saving $1 million and then dying unhappy. So, what do I want to achieve? What are the financial goals behind that? And then how do I do that?
Yeah, I think that's so important to keep what are you going to retire to in mind, right? People that retire to sit around and watch Wheel of Fortune generally die very quickly, but people that retire to like a great, second, not career, but like second, goal in life, a second purpose in life, I think you can really just have so much meaning and beauty around everything they do. And it really takes moving your entire life towards, I'm going to have a great life throughout and after I finish my career. And I really liked something that Larry Sprung from Midland Financial said. He said you have like this three-legged stool of your health, your mental health, and your financial health, right? You have your body, your mind, and your finances, and all of those need to be good to be on good standing. And I think if you're moving all of those towards, I want to be healthy financially, mentally, and physically when I retire, then you're going to have the best life, throughout and when you get there, instead of being deficient in any of those areas, making it much more difficult for you to have an enjoyable life in the long term.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I'd say is enjoy the ride. Because sometimes we keep our eyes so much out in the future, we're not actually present here. So in the future, moving towards the goal, but, also be present, enjoy now. I've got a teenager. There's a finite number of years that, we have in this stage of her life. And, I treasure every minute of it.
Oh yeah, that's so important. If you think about it, right, you can take a trip to like another city, right? And you can either take it on like a Greyhound bus or, like you said, with the top down in your nice car. Either way, you're going to get there, but are you going to enjoy it or not? That
Yeah.
really does make a difference. How you get somewhere makes a huge difference. So don't forget to enjoy it. I love that advice. Think long term, enjoy it on the way. Like it's a balance. There's these two things that seem to be opposites, but you have to balance them both, or you're going to have a miserable life now or a miserable life later. You don't want to have either. That's fantastic. All right. Well, if a teacher wants to know more about gamifying their personal financial education or their own personal finances in life, or any of the wonderful things that you share on your blog, or just want to talk to you about coaching, anything like that, how can a teacher get in contact with you?
Well, in April, I'm actually starting a Spring Clean Your Finances challenge on Instagram. So that's a great place to start. And you're welcome to take any of my challenges and use them in your classroom, or in your family or in your own coaching business. I'm also, for 2024, through my blog, through my website, profstacythemoneyteacher.com, doing a savings challenge, where once a week I send out a savings challenge, which does not involve necessarily making money. So there's other ways to save towards your goals. So those are two things that I'm doing right now. But I'm always present as Prof. Stacy the Money Teacher on all social media platforms. And my website, profstacythemoneyteacher.com. My blog is there. Yeah. So I'd be glad to my coaching schedule's there. So
Awesome. I will link to those in the show notes. Remember, you can find all of our show notes at teachermoneyshow.com/podcast. You can find show notes for this show and any show there, and you get all the links and all the key takeaways and such from each episode. Thank you so much, Stacy. It was wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you, Shaun. I really enjoyed it.
If you'd like to come on the podcast for coaching, to share an expert opinion, or just to talk about a topic you think is relevant, I'd love to talk to you. Just fill out the form at teachermoneyshow.com/guest. I look forward to talking with you.